Kyle Lam. It's
What's
good to
good,
see you,
Mikey?
man.
It's nice to finally meet you, dude.
Yeah, you're checking in from Denver, right?
Correct. Yeah, I just moved to Denver last month, so I'm originally from the Chicago suburbs, but
Oh,
currently
I
based
didn't
in
know that
Denver.
you were from. I didn't know that you were from Chicago. I'm
Yeah,
Indiana, right?
suburbs.
Right. Okay. All right. Gotcha. Suburb. You're like, make sure to say
Yeah,
suburbs.
yeah, dude. Yeah, I mean, you ask anybody from the Midwest, and if you say you're from Chicago, and then they find out that you're from like Naperville, which is where I'm from, they'll put you on a pike, bro, and they'll be like, "You're not from Chicago, dude. You're from a suburb." So I'm from Naperville, Illinois. Yes.
Gotcha. Got yes. Not your hometown is not too far from me in Crown Point.
Okay,
So
cool.
Kyle, I'm gonna give you a little bit of an intro. I'm gonna let the people know who you are. It's hard to kind of like when someone asks like, tell me a little bit about yourself. It's hard to
Right.
explain. So I kind of want to touch on a couple points.
Yeah.
Kyle, you're a trainer, online coach, um, content creator, and one thing I noticed from your content is you give really well, you have a big reach and you give really good practical tips, advice, guidance on getting fit and just getting healthier, gym tips, and everything that you the content that you produce is very digestible.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing that I noticed, and so I wanted to have you on and talk a bit about that. But also, you and I connected over music.
Dude, definitely. Yeah. EDM, dubstep. I mean, my homie Clayton just showed me your mixes, and I was just like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, this guy is ripping music that is harder than, 90% of the shit you hear at festivals. So I was like, this guy knows what's up.
Oh, I appreciate it, and
Yeah.
I typically it's funny because and for people that don't know, I'm a music producer and a dubstep DJ on the side. So that's my passion project, and I do that for pure joy, and that's my creative outlet. And so it's funny because I don't really post about that or share that to my fitness page. That's all on the music side of things. And
But you should.
and you know what I do sometimes? I try to kind of pivot back to like fitness and promote it because my
Yeah.
demographic. The funny thing is, most of the people that listen to my stuff, they're all a lot of them are lifters. Like a lot of
Yeah,
them
dude.
are training, and I
Hmm.
get when I get tagged, it's like new
Yep.
gym mix or
Dude,
new,
yeah.
and
It's fire.
so yeah, so it's kind of funny. And like if you look at the demographics, like my demographic for all of the music is early 20s.
Mhm.
And then if you look at my demographics for fitness content, it's all like upper 30s and 40s.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like two completely
Different
opposite,
ranges.
two different ranges. Yeah. But music is such it's not just an important part of lifting for me and for you, but it's
It's a
just an
passion for
important part
you.
of, yeah. Yeah. It's funny too, is sometimes when you get real passionate about something like music and you spend so much time working on it, it starts to become work.
Dude, yeah. I mean, you can relate that to content. I feel like, but that's a good thing too, though, right? It's like when you
Mm-hmm.
can turn a passion into, work, and then eventually, obviously, if you can turn that into income, like that's the name of the game, right? Could you imagine
Right.
making music for a living and like doing that, making an income? Like, hell yeah.
I've
So,
thought about it. Or I've thought about like testing it out and like
mhm.
doing some live stuff, but
Yeah,
that is something where you know how it is. If you're not, you can't have one foot in. You
right.
have to
Exactly.
go all, like if you're like trying to, it
Do it.
you could get a gig down the road, you know, like you could
Yeah.
talk to a booker,
Promoter. Yeah.
promoter, and you can get a little gig just if you want to try it out. But if you want to
Mhm.
like make
If you're
money,
serious. Yeah.
there's no plan B's on that. Like these guys are hustling
Yeah.
and these guys are working, and and so for me, I'm like that with the fitness stuff. So that the coaching and all of that, that's where that is for me, where
Yeah.
it's like I'm all in and then some. That's where I'm
Hmm.
at,
Yeah.
midnight talking with my clients.
Yep.
Just spending all day thinking about it. The music is like, for me, I,
It's a
I
side
have
quest.
this, it's a side quest, like Shaq. Um, I've always, unless I'm creating something, like regardless of what phase I'm at in my life, I'm a very creative like person. Like that's a
Hmm.
big part of me. So I need to be creating something. If I don't feel like, if I'm not creating something, I feel like I'm missing something, which is probably why you've seen me releasing more. I
Mixes.
mean,
Yeah.
more mixes than there's nobody that you will not find uh,
Yeah.
anybody on the internet that releases mixes as consistently
Yeah.
and
Also
as I
detail
do.
oriented, dude. Like people don't even, I feel like
Yeah.
just because I'm a nerd about it, like, I mean, me and Clayton talk about it, right? We can hear the layers. We're like, what is this ID? And but like to the average person, if you're just getting into dubstep, you don't even
Yeah.
realize like a triple or a double or even just like the ins and outs of the transitions. And like, I feel like you have to be in it in order to like fully digest and be able to respect the amount of like work that goes into these type of mixes that you're releasing. So it's cool though because you can hear like the passion that you have through the music. And I think it shows through just the artistic flow of how the mixes work and obviously your consistency, right? So
I really appreciate it, man.
yeah,
Um that's a really big compliment, especially because you guys listen to so much
yeah,
EDM.
dude, yeah.
Um, so we'll get into the music side of things. Because I it's gonna be refreshing to talk to someone who shares that passion for music
Hmm.
and
Yep.
even more to narrow that down even more, EDM to narrow that down even more,
Yeah.
dubstep. These are very
Dubstep.
niche things. And
Yeah.
like these are like slivers, like little corners of genres. And that is the stuff that I love. I've always loved that, whether it's in movies or music. Like
Hmm.
I always love finding these little not clubs, but these little areas that other people
Yeah.
don't
Groups.
typically like or don't typically find interest in. I've always found that stuff intriguing.
Hmm.
So it's going to be really refreshing to talk to somebody about that because when it comes to dubstep,
Dude, yeah.
I'm 38. How old are you?
26.
Okay, so imagine 38. None of your friends listen to dubstep. There was a point in time before like things started like growing with my music audience
Hmm.
where I wasn't getting any listens. I'm forcing
Yeah.
my friends to
Like,
listen to
what
this
is
stuff.
this shit you're listening to?
Dude, I'm like, I am, and you know how dubstep
Yeah.
is. Like, it's like
Yeah.
they're like, man, that's pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
like it's like, but I'm
It's
like, no,
noisy.
listen, I'm going to make you listen to this. You are going
Sit
to,
down.
you are going to listen to this stuff.
Appreciate it.
So it's going to be really nice for me to just talk to someone else uh, that gets it. So we'll get into that. So, um, one thing that also stood out to me about you is you've had quite a bit of a transformation in terms of your lifestyle because you do coach and you're a trainer and that's like and you produce content regularly and you reach a lot of people and inspire a lot of people. But your own journey is what I'm interested in hearing about. So, how did
Sure.
what was the thing that like triggered you to, you know, get on your own routine and to turn your life around?
In terms of fitness specifically, or like working out and stuff.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Um, Honestly, like I feel like there wasn't one specific event. It was just a culmination of figuring out that like fitness was my passion. I didn't even know it at such an early age. Like I did sports in high school, right? I never made varsity on any teams. I feel like I got my athletic genetics from my mom. She's a marathon runner. But when I started lifting weights like back in high school, it was just to get big. Like I wanted to just improve my physique. Like I wanted to look better. I wanted to be stronger. And this was all something before like I even knew like what
Was it
fitness was.
big
I
when
didn't
you
even
were in
know.
high school? Was fitness like big? Because you grew up like you guys had like Instagram and all that shit, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, it was like, well, honestly, and it sounds kind of cheesy, and I hate to say this, but the big thing that like kickstarted it all was like Alphalete for sure. Like Alphalete, Christian
what is
Guzman.
Alpha Elite? I've seen you post about what is Alpha
Yeah,
Elite.
it's just an athleisure brand.
Okay.
Alphalete
Okay.
is just it's just like dark sport. It's just like Inaka. But
I
when I
don't know any of
found
these names that you're naming,
okay,
dude. Yeah,
these are
yeah.
these
I'm out
are
of the. I'm from a different like
Gymshark.
era. Yeah. Okay. Gymshark. I know. Gotcha. Okay.
So Alphalete was like the cool Gymshark, right? Like it was kind of like low key. Christian Guzman, who's the founder of it, he was just like this guy who would record YouTube videos, like posting a whole bunch of shit. And I found him, and I was like, it was done. Like I was obsessed, like with him, his brand, what he was doing. He was just posting about stuff, and I was just super motivated. I was like, this guy like kind of gets it. Like he's super passionate about what he does. He's jacked. He's making money. He's running his own business, but also like I respected the transparency in which he gave his audience. Like I mean, you ask anybody who is into Alpha Elite, and they're super into Alpha Elite for the specific reasons of like it's almost like dubstep. It's like if you know, you know, like that type of
It's like
vibe.
a little
So
culture.
dude, yeah. I mean, now it's a huge culture. Like now it's almost bigger than Gymshark in my opinion, because like Gymshark is not like it's washed up, but I mean, you have these certain groups that attach to these brands, right?
Mhm.
It's almost like you can relate it to EDM where people attach to certain genres of EDM, right? And so you have these groups in which you can follow and be a part of the community, and everybody's uplifting each other. So when I found this, I was like, oh, this is super cool. Like you can relate to people online, like people are posting about it, people are tagging shit. Um, but like even like my like who I was surrounded with like at the time, it wasn't anything that was super I would say impactful. Like I had friends that lifted. We would all go after school and lift. I remember specifically there was like a good period of my time where I would get off from I would get off from school. I would go to my job. I worked at a UPS store for like a long time. I would get home from UPS around like 6:30. I would like take 2 scoops of C4 pre-workout to the dome at like 7 p.m., bro, and just go lift and LARP around export for like, a couple hours. And I had no idea what I was doing, bro. Like I was just like, oh, bench press seems kind of cool. Like, and this is the thing about Christian too, athlete, like he kind of like taught me a lot of the stuff before I got into like the super sciencey, like anatomy and all the training stuff. Like he would give like workout tips, like, hey, this is how you do like, a lat pull down or even a bench press. And I was like, okay, this is really, really cool.
It's so
And
that
so,
that is interesting because when I start, I mean, what you're saying, just going in and like, hey,
yeah,
okay, I'm gonna do bench press today. Like that was, when I started, because when I started, social media wasn't a thing. So like
yep.
information came from magazines. So I would find a magazine
That's
in
crazy.
it's so crazy because like if you think about it, where there's like an 11-year difference between us, but so
Yeah,
much changed during that time. So like our experiences are kind of similar, but also kind of
different,
different. And I'm
very
really
different.
interested in hearing about like how growing up with like social media that intrigues me, like because
Yeah,
it's so foreign to me and I couldn't imagine. See, to me, I'm like, okay, because that sounds like a good thing. Like if I had social media when I kind of got into fitness instead of like having to go
magazines.
get NO Explode. I don't even know if they sell NO Explode anymore because that was
Yeah,
my first pre-workout. Dude, you used to put this stuff in a cup and it
yeah,
used to bubble. Like
like Fizz.
it would fizz. Yeah, it would
Oh my
start to
God.
fizz and foam up. I know, but I kind of liked it.
You're
Kind
like,
of
let's
like,
go.
yeah, I like anything that tastes like chemicals or anything. Like
Oh,
it's like I'm always
but you
like,
love monsters, right? White
right,
monster.
yeah. So like
Yeah.
it's just energy drinks in general, just anything but even like the flavors, like if you give me like rainbow unicorn, like these weird man-made flavors, I
Yeah.
like those over like
Like
like orange or
natural.
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
like or strawberry kiwi. Like I will always go for like the battery acid flavor over
Yeah.
that. Something about like tasting
It's
that
so
like
funny.
chemical. Yeah, like chemical. I
Yeah.
like my stuff to taste like it's doing something. But so like I would go to the supplement shop, which was like a vitamin shop. And I was actually when I started lifting, I was in Chicago. I
Okay.
was going to school. I was going to school at Columbia, and
Nice. Okay.
I started when I was 20,
Okay.
and so I would go to like the little apartment gym that I had,
Mm.
and I would just like you said, okay, I'm just gonna do chest today. I'm just gonna do
Yep.
some extra. I'm gonna try some stuff, And so, but I would get the exercises from the magazine. So I would have to imagine having that information at your fingertips had to have been pretty badass.
Yeah. I mean, you just talked about like the 11-year gap, right? I feel like I learned everything lifting oriented, fitness oriented, like YouTube University, bro. Like, I mean, you just like
Yeah.
I followed so many different creators at
That's
the
how I
time
started learning
before.
dubstep.
Dude, yeah. I mean, like, so the whole like fitness, I feel like I've been in like what you would call the fitness community or whatever you want to call it for a while. Like, I feel like I've been within the space, like Alphalete and all that. I was following, Hodge Twins, Jeff Nippard, Steve Cook, like all these bigger names when they were making this transition from like expos, like bodybuilding shows, magazines, all that stuff to like the internet, right? So like I feel like Christian Guzman and like Alphalete, he was a pioneer within the space because he was doing vlogs, he was doing summer shredding like before it was cool, before it was like this massive thing. And I feel like my experience with like growing up on the internet per se is the good amount, right? I feel like I grew up on the internet before this whole movement of TikTok, instant gratification, like looking at my phone while I'm like in a group of friends. Like I feel like I have the I would say self-control to know like my limits on like my social media consumption. But at the same time, I use it as a tool, right, to learn, to explore, like to be curious about things. And this is
That's
like
a great
right when everything was booming. So
that's a great so that's a great observation because I think about that and I think it's significant. So when I talk about my high school experience, we didn't have any social media or anything like that. And so one thing I'm learning as I get older is that it's not too common to have the same friend group that you had since you were in elementary school. So I've had the
mm,
same, I have few friends, but they're like brothers. And we've
yeah,
grown up together through elementary school, middle school, high school, college, weddings, bachelor parties, college. Now they're having children. A lot of them have
it's crazy.
two kids. It's
Yep.
crazy. But I didn't know it was crazy until I
Yeah.
would talk to people and I would tell them that. And they would say, what, that is so rare. Like, that is so rare. And I trace a lot of that because a lot of people that I went to school with, like even some of the like other groups, they're still tight. So
Mhm.
when we were in high school, like we had to be with each other. Like we would
Right.
had to, we would ride our bikes over each other's house. We'd call on the
Dude, yeah.
landline or whatever, be like, "Hey, you want to
Yeah.
come over?" And
hmm
then we would go. And I didn't even
hmm
get a cell phone until I was like 17 or something like that. And
And
then
high
even
school, yeah.
then, there was no texting on it. Like
Yeah.
it
That's
didn't even
crazy.
fucking text. Like
Yeah.
text didn't even come out till I was like 18, I don't think. And you'd have to do
That's
like these like you'd
crazy.
have to cycle through the
Yeah. No, no, no. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
A, B, B,
Yep.
C.
Press a
Yeah.
three. Yep. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
so and the reason I got a cell
So
phone was
funny.
because it is crazy when you think about it, right? So just because how things are and like how the high school experience is now.
Dude,
So
yeah.
that led to us just getting into shit together. So like we would go, if
Yep.
it's summer, we'd be scoping out and we're in high school, we're like scoping out for like open garages so we can like go like, oh, there's an open garage. Let's go back and see if they got beer in the fridge tonight. And we would go in on these little adventures together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we were like very present. And
Yeah.
there wasn't this like, what else is out there? Like it was, we were here and this is the
Right.
only place I want to be. There
Yep.
was no like posting or like even I'm so glad that there wasn't because like to have a digital footprint of my high school experience would be terrible. Because
Evidence.
I was we'll get into it and I
Yeah.
because I was reckless. I was
Yeah.
reckless in high school and college. Like my priority was not anything health related. It was more fun and friend related. But
Yeah.
I do believe that built a strong bond that lasted a lifetime with us. And I get very thankful because I feel like we were on that cusp of technology where we weren't, it wasn't like the Stone Age. It was, we had the, video games, but we were seeing the boom as we were going. So we were right
Yep.
on the bottom of that boom. So
Hmm.
like Facebook, like MySpace
Yep.
came out when we were in
MySpace.
college.
Yeah.
So it was like we are riding that wave in the perfect way where we had just enough technology to make it like, this is sweet. Like we'll all get together, play video games, do all this fun stuff. But it
Yep.
wasn't too much where it was like having Instagram in high school. Like high school was a hard enough experience anyways.
Yeah.
Having a number over my head, I couldn't
Oh yeah.
imagine. I couldn't
Yeah.
imagine that experience. It would
Yeah.
be, it's like cyberbullying because I even got bullied a little bit in high school for a bit. And
Yeah.
so like there were like thinking of like those type of layers to that experience. I have always said that same thing where I'm like, I came in at like, if you think about it, like I'm like, the way that I look at it, I'm like, humans have existed for this amount of time. Like it's crazy. And
Right.
then to narrow it down to this
Specific
4 years,
timeline.
this little 4 years, I feel like it's the perfect because I wouldn't want to be before my generation. I would not
Yeah.
want to be like my parents
Yep.
or the generation, even the kids that graduated above me. I wouldn't want that. But I also wouldn't want to be younger. So I feel like like what are the odds that
Nailed it.
in all the time that humans have been around, you just land right in that little sweet spot. It's like so
Yeah.
rare. So I always look at it that way. So I kind of look at things through the same lens when I think about that experience.
Yeah. I think that I'm the same way where I take not like pride, but I'm happy that I like, was born exactly where I was, right? You talk about this tech boom of like, I mean, I don't even remember when I got my first phone. I remember my first phone. This is before the iPhone boom. Was like it was super cool to have those phones that slide sideways and open up the keyboard, right?
Sure.
And dude, texting was like a blessing to me. And like I remember my dad had like a razor, like all this stuff. So this is before iPhone boom.
Do you remember you'd
And
like
then
pay for like like
on the internet, dude. Yeah,
dude,
like you'd
you'd
have to
like for
like
like a ringtone or
dial.
like
Yes, yes,
where
yes,
like
bro. Yes,
I had this thing that with my phone, you would slip it onto the back of the phone and it would
mm,
light up
really.
when a phone call, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world.
It's so
And you
sick.
pay for it, and now you think about it, and you're like, what an idiot!
Like so
Like,
lame.
so
Yeah.
lame.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like we were text. I mean, okay, so like way backing up, like as a child, obviously, like we had landlines. Like I would, ride my bike to the park and knock on friends' doors and all that. And I got all that. And I feel like kids these days don't get that, right? So I feel like that's the perfect timing of that. Moving into like my first cell phone, like texting and all that, social media was like kind of a thing. Didn't even know like what Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff was. iPhones come around and now it's huge, right? Snapchat, all this stuff before even TikTok. Um, but I feel like it was the right amount of time because I did have like that be present kind of part of my life to where like even within my high school, even when we had social media, like you have that handful group of friends, like the boys are always going to be the boys, right? No matter what you're doing. But definitely like growing up out of high school into I went to 2 years of community college at College DuPage, which is just like a local college in the Midwest, and then I went to University of Illinois for the 2 years after that. In between all of that, like I feel like despite having social media on my side, I didn't make like a ton of new friends. Like I felt like I kind of kept like the very core group that I had from high school, plus a few. I met a few others along the way that have come with me, this and that, but it's always been like the same friend group. Even through community college, like I said, I was living at home, and then when I transferred out, you would think that like going to a school as big as University of Illinois, especially within all the social media stuff, it'd be easy to make friends. But like that school is very like Greek oriented, obviously fraternity, sororities. And as a transfer student, like it was relatively hard to make friends here and there. Like me and all my roommates, we were all transfer students, so we were all in the same boat. But that's almost like when I turned into fitness, and I was like, okay, this fitness thing is pretty cool. Like I can kind of lean on this as like a community to meet friends and relate to people and stuff like that. And then obviously once I graduated, I was like, that fraternity stuff, none of that shit matters. Like it's just a whole different
Did you
game now.
party a
And then
lot in college, or were you like more
so
straight
that's the
edge? Were you
thing is
into fitness?
like
Like, what was your kind of
I would say I was like in
experience?
between. So I've never been like I would say a huge drinker or a partier. Like I obviously participated and we'd go out and do all that stuff. I got hooked on nicotine, vaping, smoking, drinking, all that. It was never to the point of like, okay, I have a problem, but it was laid back. Like I was just like, we would go out on weekends and weekend and like just party and just like it didn't matter. Like it did like all that mattered was like I was gonna wake up that next day, sleep in, whatever, then take my pre-workout and go to the gym. That's it. It's just
Oh,
kind of like that.
so you were kind of doing that while working out and stuff, and that was in college.
Yeah, I mean, like, so when I entered U of I knew that I wanted like health and fitness to be something that I wanted to do for work. So I originally my kind of career path was like I wanted to be a physical therapist, right? I feel like anybody who is within fitness who graduates with an exercise phys major, kinesiology, they want to be, a PT, they want to be a chiro, they want to be PA, whatever it may be. So I was like, I'm gonna be PT, and just like 90% of the people in all of my kinesiology classes were all gonna be PTs, whatever. And so it was funny because I would run into the same people at the rec center and like working out, and then people would, like the same social circle around the same classes and stuff. So fitness was like ingrained into my life while I was still doing all this, trying to figure out like, okay, like I said, I'm not a big drinker, but we go out on the weekends, be social. But working out was still definitely like a priority for me. Like I loved working out, I loved lifting. I didn't make like a ton of friends, but again, you see those same people, and it's kind of like that feeling of like, if you know, and being able to relate to them, being able to have things in common, going through the same emotions. So it's pretty cool to like meet a few people that way, but I didn't make any like outlasting friends. But yeah, it was kind of hard. It was once I got out of college, and then I went through this whole transitional period of like I didn't get into PT school. I was like, what the fuck am I going to do with a kinesiology degree? So I was like, oh, personal training is pretty cool. Like I love helping people, and I loved. I think it obviously I credit that to the upbringing of like Alpha Elite and Christian Guzman and all this other stuff, to where like I like giving people like help with like information
I
on like
think that
lifting or
shows
fitness and all that.
big time in your content, dude.
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
one thing, so I have a pretty good eye when it comes to when people are not passionate, because I'm a passion driven person.
yeah.
So I run like passion is my fuel. So whatever I'm
Mhm.
like, whatever I tend to get passionate about, like you could see it and you could tell when someone is phoning it in or when someone is truly passionate and really wants to
Yeah,
help for the right
yep,
reasons. And so with your content, you that's like one of the big things that I noticed is that you genuinely want to help people and that you are very passionate about giving value in with asking nothing in return. So
yeah,
it's not like you're saying, hey, like here's this or hey, link here. Like no, you're giving and good value. So like when I look at it, like because a lot of the content that you produce is really about like it's for the general public, right? Like it's
yeah, dude.
for
Yep.
like just for anyone who wants to
Get into
improve
lifting.
or get healthier or
Hmm.
fitter or just feel better. Like it fits under the umbrella of like just getting a little bit better each day.
Yeah,
And that really, really comes through. And you do a good job. Even like the so you're really good with not I don't want to say the trend, but like when I look at your page, I'm like, oh, he gets it. Like you know what you're doing from a content standpoint. Whereas
yeah,
like if you look at someone like me, I'm still like just posting a picture and information where
yep.
you're editing. I mean, there's editing involved. There's a ton of thought behind it, like a ton of thought
Hmm.
behind it.
Hmm.
And it comes in the form of like, here is what can I do to provide you value
Yes.
and then people could like save them or share
Hmm.
them
Hmm.
and you get a ton of reach and you do a fantastic job. I want to make sure to tell you like you do a really good job at making that information taking that information and making it where like if you just look it up on the internet it might not be so easily applicable. You
Hmm.
make it super simple, you break things down, and then you will even compile it into like a little tiny like I mean it could be as short as 15 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes like it's like boom boom boom. And
Sometimes
so
it's too
that's
quick.
yeah, but that's the time we live in. So like I'm
Yeah.
like to me I man, I can't do it. And so I'm going the complete I'm like all right, so we're in this like little time that I'm going the other way. I'm going like I'm going to make these things 2 fucking hours.
Yeah.
Like so
Yeah.
I'm kind of like okay, you got to know where your strong points are, right?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
like I'm that's like to kind of pivot over to music. My strong points, strong points are dubstep. I'm not going to sit here and make
Hell
a
yeah.
house mix, right? Like
Yeah,
that's
no,
not my strong point or where I'm
right,
what I'm passionate about, and I'm going
right.
to double down on that.
Mhm.
So you do a really good job with that, man.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate that. I feel like it's just all a learning curve of like one, keeping up with the trends and social media, creative side of things. I feel like I always, you can probably ask like a few of my close friends, like they kind of always knew that I was on this like entrepreneurial path. Like, I always wanted to like work for myself and like open up a business and whatnot. But I was obviously following like the regular corporate ladder of like getting a job, 9 to 5, salary, all
Did you
that.
work a 9 to 5 at
Um,
all?
like kind of like I guess you could say like I worked like I was a personal trainer and then on top of that I was also like a licensed massage therapist, which not many people
Hmm.
know that about me. But I was doing that at the same gym, Edwards, which is just like a local gym. I was doing that for like 4 or 5 years, and then I this is all right before I fully transitioned online, which is what happened when I recently moved, literally a month ago. So all this is still fresh to me. But yeah, I feel like the content stuff, like I didn't really know what I was doing at first, obviously. Like I always knew I wanted to help people. I always knew like, this is something I'm super passionate about. Initially, like if you dig way deeper back into my Instagram before reels were even a thing, like, I was trying to get brand sponsorships and just posting, like
Isn't
I'm
it
jacked, I'm
so
strong.
hard starting some? So like, I'm just gonna take, dude, pick a craft. Starting is
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
I mean, it, things always take so much longer than you'd
Dude,
expect,
yeah.
and you suck. So like, you suck at everything at first. So this
Yeah.
podcast, these episodes are gonna be so brutal to look back on. Like, I'm already looking back on the first one, being like, why did this, that, the other thing, pulling it
It's
apart. I
learning
can't
curve.
listen. I can't listen to my music. I can't
Yeah,
listen
I
to
mean,
it.
I can't listen to my content. Like whenever my
Yeah,
girlfriend pulls it up on the couch, I'm like, turn that shit off. Like I hate hearing myself
yeah.
talk, dude. It's
What is
insane.
it about hearing your own
So
voice that is like nails on a chalkboard? I'm like,
I don't know.
I hear
It's
myself
weird.
now. How does it sound
Hmm.
so different being played back? And why does it
Yeah.
sound so terrible?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that dude, noting back with like the content, like it's huge learning curve. So like I mean, like I said, you dig through my content and you'll see the progression of like learning how to edit, learning how
Mhm.
to give that information, that value in a quicker digestible format, making sure it's like something that people pay attention to, people don't click away from, especially in today's age of like social media, TikTok, instant gratification, like people have the attention spans of like goldfish, dude. And that's what I've learned is like you have to make sure that you hold that attention, even if you are giving that free value, because people aren't going to listen if they're
Do you think
not
it's going to get
visually.
worse? Like, cause like, how can it get worse?
That's what I'm saying, bro. I don't think it can get worse,
I think, do you
honestly.
think it'll go the other way? So things always come in phases. So
Flows, yeah.
always, whatever comes up has to come down. Things always go
Um,
through cycles. So right now we're
yeah.
living in like, I mean,
Super
it
quick.
is
Yeah.
super quick, like
Yeah.
attention spans, like nothing. So do you
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
it will turn around at some point?
Um, I think that like it won't necessarily like turn around, but it'll kind of fizzle. I feel like people have their interests in terms of like you have people who love the long format content, podcast, things that you said earlier, like you can put on, go to sleep to, like just like background noise a little bit, but informative, right? But then you
Mhm.
have this new age of these Zoomers who like they just TikTok and it's just scroll, 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 and it's like it's so like fast where I don't think that that'll change, but I don't think that we're gonna see a bigger like shift in direction of like going that way. I do think it'll fizzle out and people will be like less super
It's
quick on
so
it.
stimulating
It's
too. Like
Yeah, it's like too
sometimes
stimulating
like
sometimes.
it's too stimulating. So like
Yeah,
I hate like the explorer. Like so like when
yeah,
you are looking, you'll see like you could scroll within like two or three scrolls, and you will find some. I will say that nothing makes me laugh as hard as some. So think I don't find things that are scripted to be funny. Like comedies, I don't find funny. Stand-up comedy, I don't find. I'm one of the very few people. Like it's
okay,
I have these weird opinions that are
yeah,
kind of like
no,
unpopular opinions, but it's just me
it's
being
just how you
honest.
are.
I don't.
Yeah,
If someone have you ever had someone be like send you a routine from stand-up comedy? They're like, "Hey, watch this," and they're just like waiting for you. I never find
yeah,
stand-up comedy funny. There,
hmm.
I don't ever laugh from stand-up comedy when someone's trying to be funny. I don't find that funny.
You're a harsh
I've
critic.
always been that way, and I've always been confused. I've always like everyone around me is laughing, and I'm like,
This isn't
whenever
funny.
someone's trying, I don't. But
Yeah.
on the other side of that, when stuff just happens, Oh
Yeah,
my God, dude.
it's
I
hilarious.
laugh so hard. The unscripted stuff, whether it's like, you know what I'm talking about, something random
Hmm.
happens, someone falls, or just
Yeah,
random things happen.
that's just way funnier than
That stuff
scripted. Like,
is
yeah,
that stuff makes me laugh. So reels for that is
yeah,
hilarious.
yeah,
And my algorithm understands what I like. But then
yeah.
it's weird because like sometimes you'll just be scrolling and then it's like come across that and then you'll see like a real person dying. And I'm like, oh God. And then
Yeah,
it's
the
like
fuck.
a girl in
Mhm.
a thong. I'm like, dude, this stuff is
Dude,
way too stimulating. Like
it's
it's like
yeah,
too much
yeah,
like stimulation,
yep,
you know?
yeah.
So
It's just
it
like too
it
much information being thrown at you. I mean, that's just
yeah.
like the age we live in. Like people just like that stimulation, and I don't know. I feel like it can relate to fitness and EDM a little bit because we get that same kind of like high or stim from like lifting really aggressively or just like listening to aggressive music.
Mhm.
But yeah, like when I'm scrolling, like I don't. I mean, people will probably be surprised about this, but like I barely go on Instagram to like look at like stuff. Like I like scrolling like my daily feed or even like my personal page, just like see updates, whatever. But like just like bone sucking, just like sitting there, just like consuming media, like social media, like it's too
It's good
much.
practice and it's a waste of time. You don't ever look
Yeah,
back and go,
yeah,
I wish I would have sat there and scrolled a little longer.
yeah,
Like the only
yeah,
time I scroll is, and it's probably a bad time to do it, is when I'm laying in bed getting ready to go to bed. And then
yeah,
I'll like that and the like light is in your face. Like
dude,
that is
yeah,
not, yeah, like that's
yeah.
when I'll scroll is like when I'm done with work and all of that stuff for the day. And then at nighttime. And so, but it's, you know what? It's so good, like for promotion. Like it's just the best thing. Social media is the best thing for promotion, like
Hands down. Yeah.
music, like
Yep.
that, like promoting when I have a new project out or
Yep.
anything
Yep.
like that. Like that's what it's good for. Like that
Hmm.
is what I like. That's where I find like we're in that sweet spot where it's like as a creator,
Hmm.
what is better than social media?
Yeah.
I take that back. I take that back. So the best thing that I have had for like my coaching referrals, like people that I work
100%.
with
Yep.
one on one,
Yep.
them telling a friend or a family
Hmm.
member, like, hey, like this guy is doing this for me. I want you to reach out and talk to him. So
Yeah. Check them out.
referrals have always been my number one resource for business, which is like
Yep.
a good thing because social media it is a nice funnel, but that it's nice to know that the work itself still
It speaks for
means the
itself.
most.
Yeah.
That yeah, like I if you know if Instagram went down or if Facebook went down,
You'd be fine.
I'd be okay. But
And that's good.
an Instagram model wouldn't.
Right. Yeah, I feel like
So
that's like the age we live in, right? You have this separation of people who use social media for pros and cons, right? You have this generation that consumes and Zoomers, and there's just constant stimulation, and then you have, I mean, you have these creators and these people, these business owners, right? And so I feel like it depends on how you look at it. I went through really big change with like social media as a whole once I started creating content to where I decided like, hey, instead of consuming content, I'm going to create content, right? And so when you use social media to your advantage, advertising, business, networking, whatever that may be, it's amazing. Like it's an amazing tool that we created that is available to you to where if you use it to your advantage, it can change your life. And it's changed my life, obviously, but also it can go on the flip side of that, right? If you use it to doom scroll, if you use it to get away to distract you from things, if you use it in a way that it's not like productive for you, then yeah, it's bad. And I feel like that depends. I mean, you can alter your feed to follow different people and this and that. And I remember I had one friend, he was always getting pissed off at Instagram and he was just always like, fuck social media, like all this bullshit you see, like is everything it's just Instagram models and brand deals and this and that. And I was just like, dude, like you have to cater your feed. Like, of course, if you're following people that
mhm.
all they do is promote themselves and all they do is
Yeah,
this, you're just consumed. But on the flip side of that, bro, if you follow creators who have like good tips on how to make reels, if you have,
right.
follow people like me, like that give you free fitness advice, it's just
Yeah,
like you have to cater that to what you want it to make it beneficial for you, rather than just sitting there being like, social media sucks. I think social media is great. I think it's the greatest tool that we have in the 21st
it's
century. And
totally
it depends.
dependent on the user. Like the same,
Yeah.
person, two people could get totally different experiences out of using it.
100%.
but that's life. Like
Yeah.
two people can have the exact same scenario, have the
Mm.
same cards dealt, and one person could make a great life and the other person could make a bad life. So it
Yeah.
all depends on where you look and
Yep.
how you think and how you approach it. Like with all things, the greater the tool, the more responsible that you have to be with it. I remember seeing that documentary. You ever see the not the Social Network, but what is that documentary on Netflix? It was a documentary about social media, and it
Okay.
was
Eye opening.
very not even eye opening, dude.
Scary.
It was frightening. It was frightening.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of these people, I really wish that I could think of it. Of course, like not we're recording right now, so I can't think of it.
Yeah.
As soon as
But you're
this
gonna think
thing
about
stops,
it. Yeah.
I'll
As
be
soon
like,
as it
the
ends.
social dilemma. The social dilemma.
Okay. Okay.
If you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. It's
Yeah.
uh, a in-depth documentary on social media and the effects that it's having and the people and where it's going and how it works because it definitely works at a
Yeah.
certain way. I, I was at my brother and sister-in-law's and they have a 6-month-old, my little
Okay.
nephew.
Yeah.
We were just talking about whatever in the kitchen. When
Yeah.
I get back home, my phone is showing me baby shit. It's not like I'm
Yeah.
looking up baby stuff. That thing was
No.
listening to our
Yeah. For
conversations
sure.
and
Hmm.
then showing me ads. And I
Yep.
will say sometimes I do like it when it does that because they will show me something and I'm like, all
See some
right,
good
algorithm,
shit.
you got me
Yeah.
this time, algorithm, but I'm aware. I know what it's
Yes.
doing. I'm
Hmm.
aware when YouTube starts showing me things where I'm like, this is suspicious. I say don't recommend me this channel because I can see what the algorithm is doing. I know it. I maybe I clicked on a video because the thumbnail got me or whatever. And then they're like, "Oh, you watch this video. Why don't we send him down this rabbit hole? He's interested in this." And I go, "No." But
Right.
I learned a lot about that from watching this documentary and kind of just learning how these things work
Hmm.
because they don't work on anything but your attention. That is their money. Is your attention is
Yeah.
their money. And the more that they can
Yeah.
get you watching, that's all
Yep.
it is.
Yep.
So a lot of the people that made these social media apps, Instagram, uh, Facebook, all these different apps, they don't let their kids use them. And
No.
there's a reason for that because
Yeah.
they cause really big mental health problems. And so it's clear that there's been a huge increase in mental health issues. Not
For
that there
sure.
weren't mental health issues before,
No.
but it has exacerbated mental health issues in a not, I mean, insignificant and it's
Yeah.
tangible. Like you can
Yeah.
see, I mean, the charts just like
Yeah. Yeah.
skyrocketing
Yeah.
once social media came out. So
Hmm.
it's definitely something that's it's scary, but if you know how to use it, it can be huge. Like you said, I can't imagine having that at my fingertips when I started training because I would just be like, because
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff I learned would be like from, like I said, my magazine and stuff like that. But then once I got with coaches and
Hmm.
mentors, that's when
Hmm.
my knowledge base just
Blew up.
grew exponentially.
Yeah.
So like surrounding myself with the right people. But
Hmm.
when you have social media, you just have to be good because you could also get, as you know, like for every piece of good information out there, there's
Yeah.
10 pieces of shit
Garbage.
information, right?
Dude, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that is what my content comes from is like I deal with a lot of different people, right? Like all walks of life, people that have competed, people that don't even know what calories or macros are. And I feel like at the end of the day, the conversation I had with a lot of them is, I asked them like, what inspired them to reach out or what about my content, reaches them. And it's just the simplicity of like, I'm not selling you anything. I'm not telling you like that. I mean, I'm basically just explaining to you the facts and giving it to you in a digestible way to where, um, I'm just telling you how it is. Like, I'm just giving you free value, free information. And at the end of the day, it's like you can take it, use it to your advantage or whatever. But there's just so much different information being thrown at us, especially on Instagram. Like, as a content creator, like, it drives me up a wall when I see, 10-minute ab circuits. You shouldn't eat seed oils. You should do keto. Like, dude, all this stuff. it's just so
Yeah.
overwhelming. And like I have clients that come to me and, before we even get into working together, and they'll ask me like, hey, like what do you think about this, or what do you think about that, and they just have all this content thrown at them that these people like tell them that you should do this, you should do that, and obviously they believe them because they come from a place of authority, like they have a lot of followers, they act like they know what they're talking about,
Yeah, it
when in
turns out you
reality,
don't
like,
have to be extremely have high morals or be extremely
yeah,
knowledgeable to gain and garnish a large following on social
that's a
media.
really shitty part
Public
about
service
social
announcement.
media.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've learned that.
Anybody
I've
can
learned
jump on and like we
Yeah,
said, as long as you can grab attention,
attention.
you
Yeah.
can grow.
And there's people, there's like, I mean, I don't want to say like dark figures, but like, I mean, I've ran into some coaches who, will sell their clients cookie cutter programs, don't update
Yeah.
anything. I've seen people promote supplements that are just like, have you even looked at the ingredients? And it's just like, it's all about grabbing attention, and it's all about their own personal agenda, right? And
Hmm.
at the end of the day, as a consumer, you have the choice to consume that or not. But also, like, it is kind of like bad because I feel like some content creators take advantage of the lack of knowledge, unawareness that most of the general public has, right? And I feel like with my content, it's very friendly. It's very like, hey, this is how you do X, Y, and Z. I'm not selling you brand. I'm not selling you supplements. I'm not selling you anything. This is information for you. Use it, whatever. At the end of the day, it's like other creators too are like, I mean, you have a spectrum of that, right? You have people who will sell you bullshit and tell you that you should do keto and do all this stuff. And I'm like, just because they have over $100,000 on Instagram doesn't mean
Yeah.
that they know what they're
And
saying,
I've
And it's
often,
just
so like
frustrating.
one thing, because I obviously I know exactly what you're talking about. Um, I've often wondered because I do think a lot of people know better. I think a lot of these people give that information knowing it's not the best thing for this person, and they're just grifting and trying to make a buck or, you know, turn profit on it. I also think a lot of these people don't know what they're talking about, and they genuinely think they might be right. They're
Yeah.
give like, but they're both equally
Yeah.
detrimental. Like it's
Yes.
also having that large of influence
Mm,
and giving that information confidently
mm.
when you know deep down you're like, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about,
Yeah.
but I'm dug in, so I'm gonna
Right.
just keep doubling down, and they just
Yep.
never take the time to learn or
Yeah.
like. So yeah, so that, I mean, it can be as someone who, see, the only reason you feel the way that you do about that is because you care.
Right.
Like you said, it's if you don't care, you don't care,
Yeah.
but you
Yep.
care and you're in it for the right reasons because you genuinely like to help people. Like I bet like when you would talk to people at the gym, you'd strike up conversations, you would offer them value and nothing, no like, hey, do you need
Yeah.
this? Or you
Exchange.
would just same, man, same. So I think the people that are in it for the right reasons do get rubbed the wrong way because you know what that does to people, and you also work with people. Like, how many times have you had someone reach out and they're in a bad spot because they got fucked over by some,
Yeah.
you
Some other
know,
coach from,
some
yeah,
other
something else.
coach
Yep.
that just sent them some plan, and now you're spending,
Yeah.
6 months, reverse dieting them and doing
Yep.
fixing all
Yeah,
these
dude.
different things, and then a lot of them develop eating disorder. Like it, they're
Yes.
so. I mean, it's such, when you're dealing with the human body, it's so serious.
Yeah.
It's so serious. Like it's,
Yeah.
what's more important than your body? Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing more important than your body. Have you ever
Yeah.
been, when you're sick or something like that, you
Dude.
realize like nothing
Don't.
else matters
Yeah.
other, it all
Yeah.
starts when you're with your body. As long as
Yep.
your body's functioning and your mind's, all of these things. And when I say your body, I mean your mind too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything as one, then you can start ticking those other boxes. And if you think that something is more important than your body, get sick and let me know
Yeah.
how, because nothing is as important as being healthy.
And that's a big thing that people, like a lot of like potential clients come to me and they want to lose fat, they want to build muscle, but then I ask them like deeper questions like, hey, why does this like matter to you? Why is this important? Whatever. And a lot of them come to the same answer, which is the answer that I'm looking for, which is like, health, longevity, like all this, like it's the most important thing. Like you only get one body. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like you can tell through that, that passion through my content, because I'm not trying to sell you a six pack. I'm not trying to sell you huge
Mm-mm,
delts. I'm trying to sell
mm-mm.
you, hey, you want to grow old, you want to be able to function, not have disease, not have a heart attack, play with your kids when you're older, get in out of your car without pain, go upstairs without pain. All this stuff is just like, I feel like the further into fitness you get, the more you realize like how important it is. Like you're not only just fixing what you eat and consume on a nutrition basis because you want to be shredded. It's because you need to learn how to fuel your body properly and efficiently, and how to set yourself up for success long term, rather than just chasing a short term goal and changing your behavior that way. It's like the quicker you turn that switch on, the more you realize it's a lifestyle. You're changing your habits, your behavior, rather than seeing it as I have to do this to achieve this. That is when it clicks and you're just like, you get it. And that is when fitness becomes a part of your life. And it's
And
just
you know
from
how
there,
it
it's
is
just,
too. Like when you are healthy and you're feeling good and you're looking good, and I'm not talking about looking good. Oh, look at me, I look so good. No, no, no,
no,
no. Not many people. I don't know many people that wake up every morning and go, "Oh yeah, you
like,
look good."
damn,
No,
I'm good.
no, it's not. It's not like that. It's not a vain. I'm
No.
sure there are people like that. I don't know them because I would never, like talk to anyone like that. But
Yeah.
when when you feel confident,
Yeah.
you are the best
Version of
version of
yourself.
you shines through. When you walk into a room, you light up a room more,
You got that
you're more
energy, that glow.
approachable, you have a completely different energy, so you
Hmm.
become an extenuated version of yourself. You're just the best version of yourself when you feel
Hmm.
good and you look good. And if you're a better version of yourself, that means you're a better person for the people around you, which means you have an impact on everything expands. So you have an impact on your neighbor, your brother, your mom, your dad, everyone. You're better for the
Hmm.
people around you, and that goes and gets passed along. So it does affect more people than just you. You affect your circle. So there's
Hmm.
just so many layers to it. Now, how do you approach your own health and fitness? So everyone has a different version of what health and fitness. So for me, obviously, I'm a lifetime natural bodybuilder. Bodybuilding is my passion. That's from day one to now to the next 10, 20 years. I'm going to be doing the exact same thing as I'm doing right now, as long as I stay healthy, knock on wood, right? So like my goal never changes. It's always about building more muscle than competing, building more muscle than competing. And I'm going to max out my genetic natural potential.
Potential.
That's just
Yeah.
that's just me. But I also
Yeah.
work with like you said, Gen Pop, someone who just wants to feel better, someone who wants to lose a couple of pounds, someone who wants to step on stage, bikini competitor. So, across the whole gamut.
Hmm.
But we all have a version. And when you find the version of health and fitness that works for you, it's something that you just do. It's something that complements your life. It's something that makes your life better. You don't
Hmm.
look at it as like a chore. Not that things aren't what can inconvenient. I don't
Yeah.
like
No.
I don't even know if I like it anymore. I just do it. It's like I don't know, tracking all my
Hmm.
food on
Yeah.
my fitness
Your
pal,
shit.
weighing all
Yep.
my food on a food scale. I kind of
Yep.
like it. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like it. It's
You
kind of I
psycho.
got yeah. I'm like I like it. But that's because I found my version,
It's
and
yeah.
it fits me. It suits
Hmm.
my addictive personality, my
Hmm.
passion. Like we were talking about, I'm very passionate.
Hmm.
Like this passion just this fire burns, man, and it
Yeah. You
stays
can tell.
stays lit.
Yep.
So I found what works best for me, and that's why it's sustainable for the
Hmm.
rest of my life. So everyone
Yep.
has that version. I think you just need to figure out what it is, and it could be as obviously that's an extreme example, but it could be very not, we'll just say
Not as
a lot less
intense.
extreme, not as intense, right? So
Yeah.
what approach do you take to your own lifestyle, and how did you find it?
It's changed over the years. Like I feel like when I was earlier on, like lifting, I was just doing it to get jacked. I wanted to get big, be strong. And then I kind of took approach of like I wanted to be strong again. Like powerlifting was really cool, technical stuff. Right now, I would say my approach on health and fitness is long-term sustainability with non-restrictiveness, right? So the integration of having health and fitness in your everyday life without seeing it as a chore or a task is going to tremendously benefit your health and fitness long term than getting jacked, stepping on stage, or whatever. And this is not, bashing bodybuilding,
Right,
powerlifting
right,
companies
right,
at
right,
all.
right,
It's just
right.
it's the difference of I've found that I like working out because of the way it makes me feel, because of the way it makes me feel afterwards in terms of like my actual strength, my function, how I look, how I feel. We were just talking about, when you walk into a room, the confidence, the glow, right, the energy. And I've found that when you boil it down to the basics, it really should be something that is ingrained every day instead of seeing it as a task. Like I've been kind of talking about lately the past 2 weeks, like having a daily deposit of like, putting your efforts and energy towards something that is going to make you 1% better every single day. That compounds over time, right? And that will tremendously benefit you long term down the road, so far that you can't even see. So for me, I mean, I kind of went off on tangent there, but like I would say my
No,
approach is
that's what this
like
is
I said,
about,
like
man. I like kind of I like the tangents. I find like
yeah,
the best nuggets of information, the most interesting stuff.
tangents. Yeah,
They come from the tangents because that's just like
yeah.
how
You're
like
just
we're just
spewing off the
talking,
dome.
right? Like we're
Yeah,
just talking right now. So there's no
yeah.
rush. There's no, I mean, the tangents. In fact, a lot of times when things get too technical and too preachy, I find them boring. I like the tangents. So tangents, rabbit holes, that's what this is
Yeah.
about. And that's like the atmosphere that I'm trying to create with all this
Hmm.
is like
Yeah.
that it's like common to go down little tangents
Rabbit
and
holes. Yep.
side roads and detours and
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
go that route. So feel free to, go on those little tangents. I like them.
Yeah, I feel like with my approach on training right now, specifically, it's very strength oriented. I do, and I keep saying this to a bunch of people to keep myself accountable, but I do want to compete for powerlifting at some point in time. I've always
Yeah,
just
you're pretty
liked like,
strong. I noticed that
the
from
big
you're pretty damn
three.
strong.
I've always liked the big three lifts, and I
Yeah.
feel like I vibe way more in that type of training, like a power building approach where
Yeah.
it's strength oriented, but there are bodybuilding movements.
Yeah.
But pertaining to like my
Like
my avatar,
deadlifting,
my client.
squatting, things like that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
yeah, I
right,
love that
right,
shit.
right.
I love
Yeah,
that
okay.
shit. Like seeing how strong you can be, like physically,
Yeah.
like I think that shit is inspiring. But also on the flip side of that too, like bodybuilding would be kind of cool to compete in. Like I feel like not many people understand the mental capacity in which it takes to be a bodybuilder. Like I've seen people in the trenches before where it like I mean Clayton's a perfect example. Like when you talk about
Mhm.
fitness integration into lifestyle and EDM. Like I remember last year we had a sling of festivals that we were going to. So there was North Coast and which is near Chicago, and then we were going to it was Base Canyon, and he was prepping for his show while doing all this, and I was like, you're kind of insane for doing this, dude.
Let's
We
definitely talk about, yeah, let's like shift gears into this music because
yeah,
I
yeah,
do want to hear how you guys handle because you guys go to music festivals, you guys don't hold back. I mean, you guys
yeah,
go like and have a good time and travel
yeah,
and I do, I see you guys going to all the dubstep festivals and everything like that. So why
yeah,
don't you like elaborate on how you guys go about that? I'm really
yeah.
interested in hearing about
For
this.
sure. So that the example I was talking about was the only example where I mean I've never been on prep bodybuilding prep just for so everybody's aware. I've never done a show. I've never competed. So just putting that out there. But when Clayton was prepping, I remember one his mental state of like just like the mental awareness of like what it takes to compete and then go to a festival on top of that. I was like, dude, you're crazy. So like when he came over, when he flew into Chicago, like we meal prepped for him. We grilled out chicken. We set out Tupperwares. This is what you're eating. For the next few days. And I remember even when we went to Base Canyon, he had to be super selective within what he was doing, his energy expenditure, like his calorie consumption, all
Yeah,
that.
because you're
So,
gigging so many stuff. I've only been to Lost Lands, and
yeah,
you're the amount of steps that you're taking, like over a venue, is like is
dude,
huge. You're taking a
yeah.
ton of steps.
Yeah. Yeah. So respect to Clayton for doing all that. In terms of like how I approach it, I mean, I see it as like people think that like, because you take, a couple of days off of the gym, whether that's even like a week max, like all your gains are going to atrophy. And it's like, that's not completely true. There have been some festivals where like I do like lifting before, but also like, dude, festivals like Lost Lands, festivals that go till like, 3, 4 a.m. and you're going hard. Like your body is just, you're beating your body to hell. Like those are the festivals where it's like, I'm not gonna fucking wake up and work out
No.
and lift before the festival. Are you kidding me? Like, no.
Yeah.
So I think it's also too just being prepared, right? People get really, I think, overwhelmed and anxious
Although
over.
I did wake up and I did go to the gym, the second day I was there. There was a
You're
little
a
local gym there,
psycho.
but
You're a
I
psycho.
am a psycho.
I mean, sometimes, like I said, I've done that before to where, if like the hotels had gym, like I'll work out before, but
Hmm.
it's not,
Hmm.
more likely than not, it's not
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
I think that again, people get overwhelmed with the idea that like like you can't, like if you're especially if you're competing. I mean, that's a different situation, but like for the general public, it's like you can go to a festival and like do whatever you
Or any
want and not work
vacation.
out. Yeah, and like you're
Yeah.
fine. Like it's not like your
Right.
gains are going to disappear. And I
No.
think the biggest thing with the festivals, it's like two things. It's like first of all, like the amount of steps and energy and like energy expenditure and like dancing and like the amount of calories you're actually burning throughout the day is probably a lot more than
Way
what
more.
you way more
Way
than like the
more.
average of like what you're doing at home. And then second off, like the nutrition side of things, dude, like
The
dude, it's
hydration,
hard.
all of that.
Yeah, but like specifically like even like your protein intake, right? That's like what we
Yeah.
prioritize. It's like, dude, it's so hard to hit your protein intake like at a festival because I mean, you're at the festival the whole day. You're eating
Yeah.
chicken tenders and fries, maybe a slice of pizza. Like if you're like really prepared, you're bringing like a protein bar or protein shake. Like,
That's what I
it's
did.
just
I had like protein because you could bring
yeah,
back. So like I had
yeah,
like protein. I had these first form beef sticks that are
yeah.
like
Just
20
be
grams of
prepared.
protein a stick. And so like I was just going ham on these like protein treats and
Yeah, dude.
protein bars and everything like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is because it's hard. Although I will say that was a little impressed. They did have some like I think they're pretty they try to say somewhat conscious because there's a lot of people from a lot of different areas and a lot of different lifestyles. They have all kind of different like food sources that you can get
Hmm.
for different like lifestyles at these festivals or at least at the
Yeah.
one that I went because Lost Land is a big festival. So
Yeah. Huge.
and then also you like people are getting wasted. So like people
Yes.
aren't drinking a lot of water, they're
No.
drinking alcohol,
No.
So
Yeah, that's so funny you mentioned that. You can definitely see the range of like the experience versus like the veterans versus like the inexperienced, like the people who
what's
show
the
up, don't.
difference? Tell me. Yeah, tell me. Like,
I
give me
mean, like,
some
bro, like for instance,
examples.
like you just brought up a perfect example, like being prepared, like bringing like protein bars, those beef sticks, having water, like that side of things, to where like it's almost like you and me are the same, to where it's like if we don't have enough protein throughout the day, like our body does not function properly,
You're-
right? We know, like we're hungry, like
yeah,
our
right,
brain,
right.
like it's like brain
Yeah,
fog and stuff like that. So you had those people who are prepared, who like, okay, we know that we're gonna only basically be eating 2 meals a day. You walk, I mean, beforehand, you're eating a massive meal. Like before you go into the
yeah,
festival, you're
right.
eating Chipotle, you're eating whatever, the most amount
Yeah,
of protein you can consume.
yeah.
Maybe you're drinking a little bit, having a good time or whatever, and then you go to the festival throughout the entire day. You're going hard, you're doing whatever, you're having fun. 6, 7 p.m. rolls around before main stage set. Come on, you're like, oh, I should probably eat something. Like, like
And for people
it's
that
about
don't
time,
know, main stage set is at like midnight.
dude. Yeah,
like
and
this stuff. Okay,
yeah,
so like
it's so
for
late.
me, one of the big reasons. So I don't go to. I make the stuff and I just don't go to the festivals and go to just because this honestly a lot like a, a main act will go on. It's not uncommon for them to go on at 1 o'clock a.m.
Yeah, no, that's
And
typical, especially with like local
I'm
shows.
that is not in my repertoire, dude. Like
Yeah.
I am in REM by then. So I'm like,
What time do you go to
I,
bed?
I've always joked around what time do I go to sleep? Like it's pretty like 11 midnight. So
That's
so
not that bad.
I'm
I thought you're,
no,
yeah.
it's not, it's not like 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, but I've often joked, I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't mind playing a show, but I would definitely like to be like towards that. You know how like some of those like small acts go at like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. I'm like, that would be
Opener, yeah.
perfect because then
Local act. Yep.
I could be
In and
all
out.
wrapped up by 9 on my way
Yeah.
home.
Yep.
So yeah, for people that don't know, because with like concerts and stuff, yeah, like it's not uncommon for a main act to go on at like 10, but like
Hmm.
dubstep, no, like
Yeah. No.
you're sitting through a lot of different, they'll have five
Yeah.
or six DJs come on,
Yep.
and then your main act's at like midnight, 1 o'clock in the
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah, yeah, especially for festivals that go a little bit later. The main acts are not going to come on, like you said, till 11, 12. But even like local shows, I remember like Aragon Ballroom, even Concord in Chicago, like you're showing up to these venues and doors are at, 9, 10. First
Mhm.
act, local act comes on, 11. Then they have two openers, and then it's like the main act does not come on till like 1. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like I'm
Right.
so tired and exhausted at that point, and it's
I'm
just
glad I'm
like,
not alone on that because I'm
and
like,
then dude, because even then, like, let's say you're drinking, right? And you pregame, whatever, you show up, like, first local act's kind of sick, whatever. But, like, one, it's expensive to keep drinking. And two, it's just like, it's kind of hard to be drunk that long. And then by the time, like, the local act comes out, it's like, you're not
And
even
don't you
really
have to
drunk
go
anymore.
pee all the time? Like,
Dude, yeah.
if I'm,
Yeah.
because I don't drink, so like
Yeah. Okay.
I would imagine
Yeah.
like, because like when I go to a concert, and I've gone to like because the Aragon, I'm just gonna take the Aragon. I've gone so many shows at the Aragon, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll go to a show by myself. So
Yeah.
like, I'll drive there. I'll
Mm-hmm.
get there's a spot like that second floor, like the rail right there
Yeah.
where you're like
Yep.
looking over, like right
Yeah.
against that rail is perfect because
Nice.
you're
Yep.
not in that like pit, but you're
Pit.
just
Yeah.
looking over and you
Dude,
have
the
a
Aragon
perfect
pit
view.
sucks ass so
Yeah,
badly,
like
dude. You're so sweaty down
any
there. It
pit sucks,
sucks.
dude. Any
Yeah.
pit sucks. I want
Yeah.
nothing to do
Yeah.
with the pit. Like
Yeah.
nothing to do with the pit. Do you
Yep.
go into those go so like if I
I
see
mean,
a pit, I'm
like, bro, like,
I'm
like
stepping
Lost
back. Like I don't
Lands,
want
like,
anything to do with it.
of course you're going into the pit, but
Not
I feel
me.
like we
Not me.
are,
Not
dude,
by
we're in the
choice.
same.
Not by
No, 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 we're.
choice.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of funny you mention that. Like Clayton will always drag me into the pit because he's always in
That's
there.
not.
But bro, for me, like too, it's like for even like for local shows now, it's like we'll kind of stand in the back. We want to have our own space. Like, don't be
Yes,
rubbing up on us. Like,
100%.
we
That's how
need
I am.
air. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially the indoor shows for sure. Yeah,
Yeah. Right. Right. So let's
yeah.
talk about because I'm really excited to get into this music section. Because music for training, like like especially like being a power lifter, how
Oh,
important
bro.
is music in training for you? And like what's like give me what are you listening to? Like what's going on?
People do not understand, like,
So
I mean,
important.
if you're not listening to EDM, like, that's fine. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
bash you,
right.
like, listen to your rap and stuff, but like people don't understand the hype in which you play your favorite track and you can time that build up. And when you're in the trench of that rep or that set and you're like going and that shit's blasting in your ears, bro, there is no better feeling than that. Like,
I'm
like,
not even exaggerating that music can take your workout from like let's say you're doing the same set with the same weight and you
yeah,
reach failure with no
dude,
music.
yeah,
If you
yeah,
add in some music and that music gets you going,
yeah,
that
bro.
will add in another 5 to 6 reps. I'm not even
100%.
exaggerating. I'm not even
And people,
exaggerating.
dude, like people who don't listen to EDM don't really get that. Like they're like, oh, this shit's like aggressive, like it's so loud.
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, that shit's aggressive. I'm about to fucking go to war on this set, bro. Come
That's
with
the
me.
point.
That's
I
the point.
remember I
Yeah.
remember when I first started getting into it. Like this was like in I think the first mix I published was in 2018 or something like that. I don't know. It's been a long time. And
Yeah.
I remember making it for the reason that I wanted something for me to listen to at the gym. And I always wanted to do it. So I remember I was like, because I looked on YouTube. I didn't know anything about it. I was just like listening to dubstep and I was like, how do they do like how are they
Yeah.
making this? Like,
Yeah.
let me look like
Yeah.
what are they
What is the
doing up there?
process? I'm like,
What are they
yeah.
doing up there? I thought they were using
Yeah.
I thought they were using instruments. Like I thought they were like,
Really?
yeah, I thought they were like doing all
Nah, no,
those instruments. And
no.
so I looked, that's how like, but that just shows you what level of like knowledge I had with it. So like that's where I started. And then I started researching and I found an online course. I took an online course, started learning about it, and then I treated it like training. So my every single night, and this was before now I just make everything on my computer. Oh, I'm losing your audio. Oh
I'm
wait,
still
wait,
here.
you're back. Okay, maybe you just weren't saying anything.
Yeah.
But so I treated it like training where I'd be like, all right, I got 2 hours every single night. And I would have my board in my kitchen. I had my laptop hooked up and I would just mix.
Mixing.
And back
Yep.
then I would practice. So now I do everything on my computer. And when I'm done,
Yeah.
I export, right? It's all there in
Yep.
my file.
Yep.
No. That's not how it went when you're mixing on a board. When you're mixing on a
No.
board,
You
you're
make a fuck up
recording it.
and yep.
And I would record them in all one take. And some of those were like an hour long.
Yeah. That's
Things
crazy.
have gotten so crazy. I don't even, you probably noticed like mine is like 15 to 20 minutes now per because
Yeah.
they've just gotten they just take so much work and they're just so
Dude,
crazy
yeah. I
that
mean,
and I even think like kind of going back to that attention span thing, I think you can digest something like that within 20 minutes.
Mhm.
If you're listening to something for an hour, you're getting a phone call, you're getting a text, you're hitting stop to do something. And to me, like the whole experience, the way that it's meant to be listened to when I
Use.
make it,
Yeah.
you're supposed to listen to this in one shot, like in a
Yeah.
training
Yeah.
session, whatever, a car ride. But 20 minutes, that's like that's
It's
reasonable.
good. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Well,
So
dude, I feel
like,
like especially for you, like the amount of detail and the amount of like articulation, bro. Like, I mean, like I said, you have to know. But like when I listen to that stuff and I'm like trying to figure out the layers, but like there is not one beat that is off. Like there is not one tick, one vocal, transition that is
no.
off. Everything is perfect, and I feel like that is why it's so nice to have it in condensed format, because you're going ham for that 20 minutes, whatever you're doing. But for these like mixes that are like, over an hour, it's like a full like build of a drop,
Mhm.
and then like a transition out, and then in the next
Not
one.
a lot of
For you,
downtime
dude,
in mine.
not bro, for yours, dude, it's like just go, like build up,
Yeah.
drop, double drop,
Yeah.
quadruple layer, like it's fucking sick. And
I
it's just
like
like
to
it's
I like
awesome.
to I'm real big on energy. So like
Yeah,
like over the course of the year, I always liked when I would always get like, if I'm going, like I don't want to break I like to like be
go.
in that session where I'm just like going.
Mhm.
And so like a lot of mine now are just like the
Go.
energy probably within even like the last like really in like the last five of them, it's just like
Yeah, it's
all
just
gas, no
yeah,
brakes.
bro.
And
Yeah.
then so that takes work. But like you said, so like I do have an obsessive personality. So when I used to make these things, I could have a great mix or whatever, but if there was one thing that was off, one thing, I couldn't sleep. Not I couldn't even I can't even like I couldn't eat. All I would hear are the flaws. And so I would
Yeah.
spend all of my, additional time, like anytime that I'm not working, which I still do. Like if I'm not coaching or doing bodybuilding stuff or work, like my
Hmm.
free time goes to the uh music side
Music
of things.
making. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like to do.
But you
And
can, bro, you can tell through the mixes, like the amount of like perfectionism that you have, you can tell that like if a vocal or if like a little pre-drop is off, bro, like I could tell that that should have fucking
yeah,
keep you
yeah,
up
me
at
too.
night,
And
bro.
and
Like,
it's all I hear. So like
yeah,
I
yeah,
I'll
yep.
the amount of like I'm glad that comes through. That's like important to me, like because that's kind of what I, like have obsessed on over the past couple of years. And so like I would spend like all my time figuring out like how to do that.
Yep.
And like going through obsessing because and trust me, the stuff that isn't perfect, you don't hear. Dude,
No.
I could make 10 mixes with the stuff that I just delete
Yep.
because a lot of stuff gets made, but you only show people what is up to that standard. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that
Yeah.
that translates, and I hope that it's been good for your training.
Oh, bro, it's insane. Like, dude, when Death Proof came out, like me and Clayton were just like, bro, we were just like, what the fuck is it? Like, what is it? Did you hear that? Like, and then like, dude, just all the mixes, like, bro, Mad Data Hell is sick. And then I was recently listening to your new one, right? So I mean, just like
Mm,
it's nice having, because like when I go to the gym and I lift, obviously like listening to EDM, I'm not really on like Spotify just because like I'm only
mm.
going to Spotify if I'm like
SoundCloud.
yeah, but I'm on SoundCloud, right? So I'm listening to
Mm,
mixes, I'm listening to live sets, I'm listening to shit that is just underground. But being
mm.
able to just like throw on one of your mixes and just like let that rip for the next 20 minutes, bro, I'm like, let's fucking go. Like,
Man,
it's sweet.
that's awesome. I
Yeah,
remember
dude.
when when I made it, I was like, I
Yeah.
remember because I would, like I said, I would make it for me, and
Hmm.
like it was just like, which I still do. I make them for me. The ironic thing is, I can't really listen to dubstep anymore because by the time I'm done listening to it,
Yeah.
and going over it and making it, I'm so sick of it, Kyle. Like I've heard like by the time you hear it, I've heard it 10,000
Yeah.
times
Yeah. Each
in
section, like
yeah, imagine listening
in
to one little
detail.
section, and as
Yeah.
like with that stuff, like the more you listen
Yeah.
to it, the weirder it gets when it's in your
Yeah.
head. Like it's like
Hmm.
you're dealing with like
Yeah.
a glitch or a crunch, and or like
Yep.
a growl, and you're just like in there trying to get it perfect, and then
Yeah.
you listen to it. Like you
Yeah.
ever say a word like
Dude, yes. Or you like look at a
You know,
word and the spelling and
and
it
it's
like
weird
looks
for some
weird.
reason.
Yes,
And it's
yes,
just like a
yes.
word like spoon. You're like spoon.
Yeah,
That's a normal word. But then you
yeah. But then it's
say spoon
just
10 times and it doesn't become spoon anymore. It becomes
yeah,
something so weird.
completely different.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah,
kind of
dude.
how it is. And so like when
Hmm.
I'm in the gym, like remember how I told you like kind of becomes work. So like these
Hmm.
mixes, it becomes work. And
Yeah.
so I end up listening to things that alternative or just these other things that hype me up, but it or
Hmm.
like emo, like I really like
Yeah.
emo, like all that stuff. And
Yeah.
but these other genres of music that are like not EDM, because by the time
Hmm.
I've spent so much time working on EDM, I'm like, I don't want to listen to
Well,
EDM.
dude, that's like after like coming home from like a festival, like even Lost Lands, bro. Like when I'm coming home, like from after that, like I don't want to listen to any dubstep. Like I'm
It
just
hurts your
like
head.
I want it hurts your head. Like I want to listen to like some other music, like some
Yeah.
softer stuff, or just like different instruments, like not computer noises. But then, bro, when you come back to it, you're like, okay, yeah, this shit's so cool. So
Yeah, if you don't get it, and I love it so much. I really
yeah.
do. And I remember when I first got like my first like comment on SoundCloud, I was like, wait a
Mm-hmm.
minute. Somebody else likes this? Like what the
Mm-hmm.
heck? Like,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, it's
Mm-hmm.
so niche
It's so
and it's
specific,
so
yeah.
yeah, it really is. Like it's not
Mm-hmm.
something for everybody, and certainly nobody in my like
Close
circle,
circle, yeah.
close circle. Yeah.
See,
So
but
like
that's what makes it cool, right? Is
mhm.
like when you find people that have that similar interest and like not even like the same obsession per se, but like I mean that's why I think like wearing merch is pretty cool, right? So if I walk on
Mhm.
the street and I see a kid wearing a Resurrect shirt, I'm like that kid's cool, like he gets it,
Yeah.
right? So that's what's
Right.
cool about like EDM is because like you can relate to people and it's just like oh like it's almost funny because you can identify like the type of person they are based on like who they listen to. So like oh you like Resurrect, Louis J. Lays, Cliptic, all those guys. That's pretty cool. Oh, you like Ella's Dream, Immersive, like, whatever.
Yeah.
It's you can kind of like get their personality. It's like, okay, you like the
Yeah.
weird shit. You're cool. Okay.
Yeah. And music just in general says a lot about your personality, right? Like
Mhm.
there you could tell a lot about a person by the music that
Type of
they like.
music.
And
Yeah.
music is like it's the universal language. So people
Yeah,
connect
dude.
over music. I mean, like you get all these strangers and you play the right music and they're gonna act like you could get them
Yeah.
rowdy, you could get them
Yeah.
crying, you can get them
Yeah.
holding arms. Like
Yep.
these are just complete strangers. Like
Yeah.
what else on earth has the power of doing that? Nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Nothing.
nothing. But you
Yeah.
put the right song on in the right atmosphere and
Yeah.
it could change,
The
change
energy in the room.
the complete energy in the room.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
man, I'm really I'm glad that we got to talk about music.
Yeah,
We've
bro.
we've known each other online for a
Hmm.
little bit now. So I'm glad we
Yeah.
got to have this conversation and I'm glad you got to jump on. So let's go ahead and wrap things up. We've been going for a little while now. Is there
Yeah.
anything you'd like to promote? I'm going to have like your Instagram and all of that information on everything here. Do you have a
Sure.
website or like where can everyone find you and is there anything I can share for you?
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say thank you, bro. It's such a pleasure having this
It
conversation and
was,
being able to
yeah.
just like chat, shoot the shit. Finally get to meet you as well.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I don't really have a website. I just, you can look me up on Instagram, check out my content. I put a lot of time, effort, energy into it.
you really do.
And then if you are interested, obviously, like I'm an online coach, so go ahead and either DM me or you can even hit that link in my bio, which is like my online coaching application. Just start a conversation. It doesn't have to be anything super serious. I just want to help as many people as I can and start a conversation about fitness. It's just like I said, health and fitness should be incorporated into everybody's life, no matter your goals, no matter where you're starting. It's something that everybody should find value in because like, touching back to what we talked on, like, your body's valuable to you. It's the most valuable asset you have and you have to take care of it. And it's okay if you don't know how to take care of it, but it's your responsibility to hold yourself accountable to learn how to do that, to find interest into figuring out how your body works and making sure that you're doing that not for anybody else but for you and your own internal reasonings, right?
I couldn't
So
agree more. Yeah, well said,
yeah.
man. And
Yeah.
guys, if you're not following Kyle, definitely make sure to go and follow. He does put I'm backing you up. You do put a lot of work in your content, and there are things that you break down and into its simplest form, and it's all there visually for you to digest. And I
Yep.
really respect what you're doing, because I know it's coming from like a genuine place, which is that, I wanted to have you on for that, and also for the music. It's really, you've always been super supportive to me with everything, and like it does mean a lot. And I'm glad we got to finally talk in person. It's interesting seeing people through content, and then getting that time to break it down and just kind of get that face to face, man. I had a really great
Yeah.
time, and I'm glad that you were able to jump on today.
Likewise, bro. I appreciate the invite and being here, the platform that you're building. I think it's super cool. I remember like when you reached out to me, I was like, I thought it was gonna be something for EDM related, and you're like
Yeah.
podcast. I was like, oh shit, bro, let's
Yeah.
go. That's so
It's like
cool.
the way that I'm looking at this too. So everything that you do, like going into the gym, like if you're someone who hasn't gone into the gym yet, when you go into the gym, you're going to suck. Like you will suck at first. And that's completely normal. When you
Content.
start, a new skill, like when I started mixing and DJing and producing, I suck, dude. It's
Yep.
terrible. But if
You
you
go through it.
stick with it and you
Yep.
stay consistent, that's how you get better. So like I have taken the approach of that with this podcast. So like these, like right now, everyone who's on board, we're in the shit. Like these are
Yeah.
the first episodes. Like
Yep.
I forget what it is, something like a couple thousand hours before you're an expert or whatever. So we got
Yeah.
some time on our hands before we're
Yeah.
gonna be getting really skilled with this stuff. And sometimes like I have to, because I get so, I want to be good so bad. Like that's why, like even with like the dubstep, like I want to be good so bad that
Mm-hmm.
I lose sleep over it. It's like I hate
Mm-hmm.
sucking. Like I just hate
Yeah.
sucking. And knowing,
Yeah.
having that, like I think bodybuilding and fitness in general has taught me like so much about that, because no matter what, you can apply that to anything, a job,
Mm-hmm.
anything. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you stick with it for long enough, you will get better and you will grow.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but having that knowledge that you're going into it, you're like, this is going to suck. This is going to be embarrassing. Like these first, you're going to have all
Yeah.
this stuff that comes up. Like when you look back, it's kind of like when I look back on my first mixes, or when you look back on your piece of content, you
Yep.
go, God, I
Like, why
suck.
did I even post that?
Why did
Yeah.
I do that? So like, it took
Yeah.
me a little bit to like get the balls to be like, all right, let's get in front of a camera. Like,
Yeah.
let's do
Lock
this,
it
because
down.
it's, we got to get these shitty ones out of the way. So
It's all
people
about the
like,
reps, dude. It's
yeah,
like
it's all
about
about
you
the
could tell
reps.
within like the perfectionism that you have, but also like that's the passion, right? So like I
Mm,
always talk about in my content too, like it's not about the destination, it's about the journey, whatever. But at
it's
the end of
true
the
though. It's
day,
cliche,
it's
but
so
it's true.
true. It's just
Yeah.
like, you have to find something where it is challenging and you suck at it, but that's the fun part about it is you get to get better at it and you get to find enjoyment through doing it. And that is why I think that's the biggest problem with fitness. This is the last thing I'll say is that people chase after their dream physiques, people chase after this idea of what they want their lifestyle to be. And that's why it's so hard to stick to the regimen, right? That's why it's so hard
Mm,
to eat clean, train hard, be consistent because they're doing it for something, for a result rather than doing it to enjoy, like figuring out how to implement it and to ingrain it into something where it's consistent and you can enjoy it every day. And it's like something that you find pleasure out of. Working hard at it, like getting better at it, simply just improving, right? I think that that's the addictive personality that you and me share is like we want to be better. We don't want to suck anymore, right? We want to be
right.
good at things.
Right.
So
Right. And
yeah,
yeah, you're right. You have to, I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. It does not
no,
have to, it's as long as you're getting a little bit better each day. And I do, like, you could use it as an analogy for anything. As long as you're getting a little bit better each day, that's really all that matters. And
yep,
I say the same thing. It is cliche, enjoy the journey. But like, if you're not finding joy in the journey, eh, what's the
find a
destination? You're not
different
going to
approach.
get to the yeah,
Yeah,
you're just not going to get to the destination. So,
yep, one hundred
all right,
percent.
man. Well, thank you again. I'm super happy we got to spend this time together, man. I'm really
Likewise.
happy. I think we touched on some good stuff. So, all right,
Yeah,
brother. We'll
pleasure.
talk.
It was a pleasure getting to meet the man behind the mixes. I cannot
Oh,
wait, bro. I cannot wait. Every time you release a mix, bro, it's just like holy shit, let's fucking go. So
that
PR music all day.
that means a lot. Yeah, it's I'm happy to contribute to the list, my man. thank
Thank you
you
for the
again,
compliment, Mikey.
Kyle. We'll talk soon, man.
Later.